So, on the mental space today, I'm delighted to be joined for a conversation here in the new year by two people who've been around in Dubai for some time. We've got Nigel Prasad of Ballers. If you don't know Ballers, it's five-a-side pitch and paddle, obviously the sport that's sweeping the nation, over here near Dubai Mall. And Dana Shaddad, who is a very well-known business owner who's been in Dubai for more than a decade. And as the new year rolls in, I think we can still say, it's still January, so I can still say Happy New Year. How are you guys? Welcome and thank you for joining us on the mental space today.
Thanks for having us on, mate.
Thank you. It's good to see you in the new year.
So, how are we doing? It's a new year. Lots of people's focus is, particularly in January, is on making a fresh start. Nigel, you obviously with the fitness background, tell us a bit about your story, but also how are you seeing, are people leaning in and trying to sort themselves out after a fairly hectic festive period?
Yeah, mate. So my background is as old as the furniture, as they say in this city. I've been here 16 going on my 17th year. And yeah, the whole time I've been here has been working for myself. So previously, before entering the new space that we've got, I was a gym owner in Alcors. So I had that one for 12 years, commercial property there. I mean, like every other gym, warehouse space type thing. And, we worked with the community. It was a community place. It done a job for what it was in Alcors. And a lot of people who've lived here or who were new here have trained at that space. My background as a coach, a strength and conditioning coach, an ex-rugby league player, that's all been there and sort of moulded the story for me in Dubai. So, yeah, took that space on, took the active lifestyle, teaching people about health and wealth and what it means to you. And then obviously, not recently, but in the last 10 years is trying to give the cross collaboration on how important health, wealth and mental health is, how they go hand in hand. So yeah, that's where I'm at now. And then obviously the new venture that I'm involved with, Ballers Dubai, multi-sports facility here in downtown Dubai. Like you opened with, we're a multi-sports facility. We've got paddle, we've got football, we've got the gym, yoga, cafe. And this is a new, outlook for me. Same sort of story about building community through the space, but doing it now with more of an active lifestyle, just rather than pinpointing it on the gym. We're using sport, we're using community, we're using networking, and it's all based around a health lifestyle.
In that decade that you've been doing this, I'm interested because you started in the physical space. How much have you seen the mental aspect of this? From the conversation getting louder, but also has the need come to the fore? Have you seen this more and more? And are people beginning to talk about this more, to you?
At the beginning, it was something that wasn't talked about here in Dubai. So you'd coach people from a face value stance, and it was always driven around weight loss. It was always driven about, I need to get fit, healthy, and, the realization, aesthetics, yeah. The realization of where they were and where they wanted to be in their life on a physical transformation and what they were seeing. But to go alongside with that, I was 20 plus. So my outlook on it as well, coming from a mental health space, wasn't there. You deal with it. You deal with your own shit when you're 20, and you sort of put it on the back burner and you ignore it. And I guess for me, it all came to a crashing halt just before I turned 30, around that time, where I was overwhelmed with certain things and the way I was being in my life, and it was all driven on numbers and becoming this certain profile in this city. So to your point, I wasn't speaking about this with our client base, member base. It was always, don't show this side of you as a human because you're going to lose business from it, right? So, yeah, no, it wasn't talked about in the first 10 years of my career until I got to a place where I needed help, and, there were certain things that I may have done, and then I started to speak about it and I've become open with it. And, I started my own platforms. Podcasting was one of them, but also on my social media, becoming a lot more open, not telling everything, but telling enough where that if I've gone through this and you know, not hold me out of stature, but as a coach, people go, you should be like this or you should like look like this. Well, yes, that in your head, but I also now have felt like this. So you guys probably feel some certain way through your life like this too. So I'm sharing. So once I started sharing, a lot more people become open and would speak in sessions. I mean, me and this one barely train in our sessions. We speak, you know, in the last 2 weeks, there's been deep conversations, but
We spend an hour doing therapy,
yeah. But
which is good because you need
Yeah.
that. You need that in your community. But he's growing. Oh, sorry. I just want to say with Nigel's story, it's you grow up. He grew up with his community, right? In your 20s, you're running on adrenaline, and when things happen, you think you've dealt with it.
You didn't see me in my 20s. There wasn't much running going on.
Well, our stories are similar because we both actually came here from. Well, did you move here from Sydney? Was it from Sydney? So, Australia is always been a massive active lifestyle and working out. And when I got here to Dubai 11, 12 years ago, it was nowhere near what Australia's like, right? And so they're so much more ahead of the game. I saw actually the increase in people engaging in this space probably over the last probably 7-8 years. But I personally grew up with a community of wherever I worked out. And what makes us similar is that we both sort of jumped into our own businesses coming in. And what the hell do you know in your 20s? That's really the question. I don't know. You know, you think you know.
Well, I've just hit 50 and I still recognise that I know very little.
The older I get, the less I know.
Well, this is the whole Donald Rumsfeld quote, which is like, there's the known unknowns and the unknown unknowns. And I'm more interested in the unknown unknowns these days.
Precisely.
I wanted to come back, though, on something Nigel was saying there, because obviously he's a business owner. And you were talking there, Nigel, about don't show this side of it. You're going to lose business. I mean, you've been in business, Dana, now for over a decade here in Dubai. Often when we look at social media feeds, the whole sort of impetus and the whole ethos of it is, I'm amazing, look at me, be like me. You know, don't show that vulnerable side. Don't show that
Insta
honest.
life.
Yeah. Well, Insta, but also, you know, got plenty of people on LinkedIn who are all, you know, the big I am as well. But from your perspective as a business owner, how's your journey been with your mental health, and how difficult has it been to open up as a person running a successful business?
So when I started, and I'm in a completely different domain, so Nigel gets to deal with people. It's a much more personable just environment. And you know, my business is a consulting practice here in Dubai, you know, and we work with clients globally and then out of Saudi as well. But our clients are primarily government or semi-government and sometimes multinationals. And there's nothing personable about these relationships or personal about these relationships. They are, you know, corporate, formal, at a distance. You know, you do need to keep up appearances. I'm walking in and fighting for business against, you know, big brands, you know, like McKinsey or Boston Consulting or PwC, because we're in the same space, right? And so it's even more tough coming in being 20 or 30 in your 20s or early 30s and saying, I know more than X, Y, and Z, and having that image of maturity, being together all the time, nothing's unraveling at the seams, and building those relationships over extended periods of time to be able to actually win this business. Look, for a long time, I ran on adrenaline. I have no idea how I did it. Like when I look back, I think, I have no idea. Like there was no plan. You know how people talk about like your yearly plan and goals and things like that? That was never me. I run on intuition. I'm quite intuitive. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And I sort of follow my gut. And it's gotten me that far. It's gotten me in some trouble as well, I think, as you do. But probably like Nigel, my first sort of clash with the whole mental health was probably closer to 30, when I was around 30. When you start thinking, is this it? Where am I going? How fast am I going? But what is this for? You start to question all of these things. And here's the catch. we're talking about this today, actually. If you try to just sort of put it in a little corner, just like push it away and think, I'll get back to this later, it'll come back. It comes back and gets you, and it's harder every time. If something is not like feeling right for you, and then you're gonna ask me, what does that actually mean? And I'll tell you, I have no idea, but you just start to feel either stuck or not quite yourself, or what am I running for? Or almost, I don't want to throw the word depressed around because I think it's a big word and I think people abuse it a lot. Depression is a really tough thing. It's a diagnosable illness, but you feel really down. And guess what? Nobody's got answers for you, including therapists.
You talked there about running on adrenaline, and I guess you were saying the same as well when you set up your business. And we look at the statistics, and if you go for hashtag burnout, I mean, we are burning out. The statistics, we had Cigna did its well-being research late last year. 98% of people in Dubai with one symptom of a mental health disorder. Some of the global highs in terms of burnout. Same with Bupa did a research recently with execs and C-suites. 94% of execs and C-suite suffering from burnout. 20% of those acute burnout. Is that something that you've both experienced, and how did it manifest?
Yeah. In terms of my previous life, I got it to, after, let's say, 12 honest years and graft, like hard, to where a place where I thought I was good and comfortable. It takes you a long time, right? Building your profile as a coach. And like Dana was saying, I'm the local therapist on the gym floor, right? You train people, they want to tell you their problems. You can't just flog a dead horse every day. I've got to read people, I've got to see what they're coming through the door. Things have to pivot on the spot in terms of my programming, but even the way I'm treating that situation, I'm good at reading people. And so you ask, how you feeling? What's going on? And then bang, it's like, comes at me. So a lot of energy comes my way. Got to take it on board. I mean, this has been my 20 plus years as a coach. Try to not figure out their problems, but be a leaning post. Yeah, if that makes sense. So I didn't realize the effect it had on me until recently. Like recently becoming probably the last 6 months. Now we're building this business. We opened in summer, and if anyone ever gets a chance to visit us down here, beautiful venue, amazing venue. But when you open a venue like this, you also have expectations. And I think our expectations weren't met because of the summer heat. And, mate, you could tell me this all day. You're like, yeah, but you opened in summer. I get it. I knew it. But it was also like, okay, we've opened a 5-star resort. Where is everyone? And that played a lot in my head. And then starting to build it slowly and getting the network out there and building a community. And that's coming.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But that's also coming with a lot of energy coming my way. And again, getting into that whole leaning post that I've been for my whole entire life. Yeah. Now, as of recent, there's been some things going on, and I'm looking back at it and going, well, half the reason I've been struggling like myself is that I've never been able to deal with my own stuff.
So you're listening to other people, but you're not listening to yourself.
Trying to make other people happy as well, and the fear of letting people down. Like, it's something that's clicking here right now. Certain things have to happen for me to open, but I feel like now at the 39, I'm like, fuck, I'm closing into 40, and I've been this leaning post for everyone, and I've never dealt with my own stuff, and so I'm finally realizing that now. So yeah, it's been a while.
When you say you haven't dealt with your stuff, just give me a little insight into what's going on inside of Nigel. Like, how's that actually impacting you then? You now recognize it.
Yeah, yeah.
What is it that was wrong? How you were feeling where you're going, do you know what? This isn't right.
Yeah.
And I think it's that.
Yeah. Look, when when you wake up, especially in a job like this where you're customer facing every day, I can't bring my problems to work. No, I guess nobody can because of what society makes of it, right? Like if I went into my workplace and said to my colleague, I'm not feeling the best today, and it doesn't excuse or what, we're here at work, got to work.
Nobody wants to come and see a sad coach in the gym.
Absolutely.
Imagine that.
I'm the one.
#honest coach.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, I'm the one that they're walking in, and I've got to give them some sort of lift as they come through the door to get the job done. So it was a mask. Every day there was a mask put on. And I thought I took that off, 4 or 5 years ago. Like, start being yourself, mate. Like, that's what's winning you work. Be yourself. I'm not walking around depressed, but you have your days, right? But at the same time, don't be afraid to show that vulnerability. So there was that. So I thought I was doing all right. And then, a very common thing I'm told by people is, I don't know much about you, and I don't know, like, you keep this high wall or your guard up. And I don't know why. I don't know I'm doing it. But at the same time, I'm like, well, I'm here for you. You don't have to be there.
Which
for
is
me.
a self-protective mechanism.
But again,
You say that,
yeah.
but that's exactly what's happening. I'll take care of you. Don't worry about this because you're getting too close if you know if I'm talking about what's going on with me.
Yeah, and you say that, but I don't know I'm doing it. So I'm not even aware of it. You know
but
what
this
I mean?
is the stuff in the,
exactly,
back
in
that
the
you need to really go and dig for.
Yeah. Now, what's making me realise it is that, I picked up the phone the other day, and to be fair, I picked up the phone, was in a bit of a spot, and I didn't know who to call. Right? Like
who's your close person that you can pick?
Correct.
Because you've not broke those barriers down enough with
I just you know what I've always done.
That's a scary reality, isn't
I've always
it?
figured it out, right?
Yeah.
And by figuring out, maybe kicking it to one side and just going, all right, move on and deal with it later. So this time I got to a point, and I guess it's age, mate. Like, I got to a point where there was the end of the road was there, and I was like, where to now? And there was no turn off. There was no U-turn. I was like, shit. And I panicked, and I was like, shit, I need to speak to someone. So, yeah, I was like looking through my phone. Who can I do what everyone does to me? I need someone to listen to me right now. And to be fair, I struggled, which was my fault, because especially this year or the last 12 months, being in this place and building this business, man, you just pull away and you burn out.
Did you then find someone in your contacts book?
Yeah.
And what was the reaction then when you actually had that conversation? Was it perhaps not as hard as you expected?
No, definitely not as hard as I expect. Like, at the point I was like, I've got nothing left to hide.
Yeah.
Tell it all. Tell it how it is. Be truthful. And that person was very thankful on the other side of it that I was being this way. So, yeah, I mean, it was good to get it off my chest. It was like I emptied the tank, but it also gave me the realization, like, I'm the best person at giving all this sound advice and speaking honestly about it. And, the words are there. If anyone listens to podcasts that we do and we touch on these subjects, people probably go, you got your shit together. You know what I mean? Like, and to be honest, no, I don't. Like, there's a lot of work to do. And I've got to start working, man. Like, as a coach, I think if you speak to 90% of coaches, they'll give the best advice. And when it comes to doing it for themselves, it's not there. You know what I mean? Because we're always making sure everyone around us is okay.
Yeah, we're all people pleasers.
Absolutely. Yeah, and even the person I was speaking
we almost
to.
have this from this, like, the way we're taught all our lives. Like, you can't be selfish.
Yeah.
And at what point you're not supposed to put yourself first.
Yeah. But
we kind of need to. I mean, Dana, over Christmas, I was reading this book to my daughter, which is a really interesting one. It's a BBC animation as well, which is like the boy, the horse, and the mole, or something like that. Really sweet. But one of the things, and a lot of well-being in there. One of the things he said was, the boy asked the horse, or the horse asked the boy, can't remember which, what's the bravest thing you've ever said? And the boy said, help. And I don't know how that resonates with you.
Well,
How hard is it for you to ask for help?
the first thing that I want to just touch on real quick, because I actually just commented on it the other day on LinkedIn, you said boy, right? So the first thing I want to say is it's really important to highlight that, not that it's harder, but the situation with boys, with men, is really, really bad. And it's imperative that we shed some light on it, because boys from a young age are, taught not to cry and not to complain, and society endorses this sort of stoicism and equates it to being a man. And what ends up happening is you have an entire generation of men who can't express themselves, who are struggling, and therefore suicide rates of men are actually higher. Homelessness.
It's scary.
It is
I mean,
scary.
It's scary.
It
I
is
think
scary.
We are 5 times more likely to commit suicide, Nigel,
100%.
than
Homelessness of men is higher as well. Underdiagnosed mental illness in men is higher. It is a real problem, because I'm interacting with a lot of young Gen Z boys or men or young men now, and it's crazy to me how at their age they're already going, my mental health. And I think to myself, but you've lived in a sheltered, taken care of environment for most of you haven't even gone out to the world yet. So what happens when it's scary. It's really scary.
I mean, look, I've got a man. My son is back in the UK. He's starting his first job. He's 21 years old. He's gone through university. You look at the statistics, like just the UK,
Scary.
for example. Second biggest killer of young men aged between 19 and 25 is suicide.
Scary.
And that's been that for a while. But we're not doing anything to tackle it. If that was a cancer, there would be millions invested in this space. But there's not, by governments. But there's not. What worries me about the Gen Z generation, and I'd be interested to get your perspectives, both of you. You'll see some of these guys coming in, in the gym and on the paddle course, is the fact that talk about expressing themselves. Not only can they not express themselves, now they don't know how to express themselves, because these days they're all on chat. I mean, one of the biggest challenges my boy's going through right now in his first job is, oh shit, now I actually have to talk to people eye to eye rather than just chat with people on social media.
Absolutely, hiding behind a screen. But you know what? It's not even just young boys. Look at our generation. The digital age has really... People think that they're more connected than ever, but actually we have never been more disconnected. We're connected via whatever platform, but it's the curated version of me that you're seeing. It's not who I am. I'm not posting photos on Instagram of the bad days that I'm having, of me being diagnosed by fibromyalgia and being out for 6 months because of burnout and depression. I'm not posting about that. You're seeing my photos in the most beautiful cities in the world. You're seeing me go to the fanciest places, and you're seeing me carry expensive stuff. That's what you'll see. I'm not showing you my pain. And on LinkedIn, it's my latest certificate and my latest conquest, and how much I know about AI. I'm not going on LinkedIn. I'm talking about myself. This is not even rhetorical. I'm literally afraid of going on LinkedIn and saying I disagree with something or ask a question, because of the keyboard warriors, people who hide behind screens that will attack you and lack so much compassion and think they know who you are based on a comment. And then obviously the extreme case is the cancel culture that we hear, obviously, that's growing right now. I am literally afraid. I'm not even joking. And I'm not like, me, I'm not somebody.
You don't strike me, Dana, as someone that would get cancelled.
But no, everybody is open to being canceled. I can name a bunch of celebrities who have been canceled. But you know what I mean? Like, we tiptoe around what we believe will be accepted. And that in itself takes so much of our working memory, our capacity, that while we're doing that and trying to live life and trying to be a good person and trying to work out and trying to raise kids and that is literally, I think, where it all goes down. We're unable to cope at the pace. And it's actually causing us to, more than ever, move away from our authentic selves. I mean, the word authentic is a bit of a it's like the word entrepreneur. It's like it's almost like an insult nowadays. It's so abused and overused. You know what I mean?
We need a new label.
We need new labels, but like you're moving away from expressing the more real version of yourself or what you really think, because you're thinking about how everybody's going to respond.
Well, Nigel, look, you're in the fitness industry. It was interesting because I was working with ASICS recently, and they did a campaign about comparison, and they basically said these kind of gym comparison pictures actually put people off doing more exercise. They're actually damaging. You know, where aren't we amazing looking fit in the gym? They're actually not good for sort of society in general. You see a lot of comparison, a lot of competition.
It's funny that whole subject is like my journey was opposite to where I'm at. I was very expressive and like people have known me in this city. I wasn't scared to
had to pull back.
Yeah, wasn't scared to
Sydney versus Dubai.
No, but this is like 5 years, right? Like this is the last 5. If anyone followed me on social media up to date, people also think that I've just disappeared because I was that other person. I was a solo brand. I was my own person, and I wasn't scared to have those conversations and say to you, well, no, this is my opinion versus yours. I wasn't trying to be pulverizing, but I wasn't scared to give my opinion on certain things. That's what the MO became. He's not like outspoken, but he's not scared to tell you what you think, right? Very straight shooter. Now, entering a trifecta instead of just my own bit, like it's not just me anymore. I had to calm it down because it could have negative ripple effects. Your partner or this person thinks this, but that's not, or he's too outspoken for this landscape, or you know what I mean? So it really, for the last 12 months, I've really battled with it, and I felt I lost my identity on who I was. Not that's what I ran my whole life off, but I was also happy to sit on different platforms or sit on my social media and go,
actually express how I feel.
Yeah, ASICS and comparisons. I would have spoken about how, you know, your transformation photos probably do a worse effect on the general population than tell me the story. You didn't tell me the story from when old mate started to where he got to. Tell me that middle line. That's what I want to hear, and that's what, you know, as a coach for the last 20 years, that's what I've given. Not the end result, the middle.
But tell me the story 1 year after the end result. That's one of the biggest issues with these 8 weeks.
It's the happily ever after, isn't
it?
Is
it? Okay.
It's where every movie ends, and it's like, wow, right, well, but what goes on 2 years later?
But give me those stories about, actually, I fell off the wagon after my 8-month transformation and I lost it. And I want to hear that. And that's what I tried to project as a coach for the last 15, 20 years in Dubai was, they're the stories I'm telling. You're not going to see, you're never going to see on our platforms since I started to now was transformations. And I wasn't a transformation coach. I transformed people's mindset and lifestyle, or did my best.
Habits.
And use the gym and the health lifestyle for that, to push that. Then came the let's open up part of it. Let's don't be afraid to talk. If you're having a shit day, come to the gym, have a chat. Let's see how we can go about it a different way. Because a transformation is not just physical, it's mental. It's mental first. It should be mental first. But so for me, it was almost a backwards thing. Like I've spent the last 12 months going, I know I'm not the bloke I used to be in terms of my personal profile identity. I've had to assume this sort of, not corporate role, but this leadership role in a business where
I'm a bit more reserved because I have to be. And by the way, it's the same for me. There are so many things I want to pipe up about, but I hold back because of the environment that I'm in, the clients I work with, their perceptions, their beliefs, their values. And it's not disrespecting anybody, but again, we go back to the fact as to how different opinions or different thoughts are perceived. I mean, I come from a culture probably not dissimilar to yours, and Australians are quite straight shooters. I'm sure you've met a few.
A couple.
But Australians are not afraid of disagreeing. Like, I can tell you what I think and you can tell, and we can banter about it and we can even argue about it, but it's okay. But that's not what's happening now. What's happening online and in terms of like expressing your opinions, it's becoming more culty. You know, there are people of certain like beliefs or whatever, or an opinion, and it gets harder and harder to just say, you know, I'm different, but you know, and it's hard.
We seem to be increasingly, and I'm going to put the blame squarely on social media's shoulders, but
100%.
we seem to be in this place where it's getting harder and harder for us to disagree. Like, either Nigel, you're an idiot, or I, Scott, I'm an idiot.
100%.
And it's probably going to be me. I'm probably the idiot. But there isn't that, okay, that's an interesting point. You've challenged me. I can actually accept that I might actually be wrong, or I've got a different perspective. That middle ground, we're losing the middle ground.
It's disappearing so fast. And everything's being polarized, right? Like, it's this or this. It's so black and white. And it's exactly like, to go back to the example that Nigel was giving about working out, the before and afters. Ultra dangerous approach to how you do fitness, because people think, you know, that's just how it is. They don't know the middle, they don't know the after, they know nothing. There's no data points against it. And in fact, some of the best coaches in the world that I spoke to over the years have been people who approach it exactly like Nigel. They sat and talked, and they said, and I remember talking to one a few years ago, and it just blew my mind, because it's literally a form of like therapy profiling. And he's a very well-known coach, and we sat and we talked, and he looked at me, he's like, girl, your eyes are darting like crazy. Your anxiety's through the roof. This is somebody who has no idea who I am. And he's like, you cannot be on a goal-based, you know, system for the gym and whatever, because you'll go crazy, because you are essentially a performance monkey, right? Yeah. You'll go after it, and then it'll be all of that, and then you'll kill yourself in the process. Yeah. That is not what we, you know, and just understanding, you know, who I was, it takes a lot for somebody to be able to see that. And that's what Nigel does every day. We have less and less compassion for one another now. And obviously via a screen, it's even harder to give somebody an excuse and actually say, well, maybe they have a point, or maybe, okay, I disagree with you. I don't really see it, but you know, it's cool, fine, you know? It just turns into these insane wars. You know, like it's crazy. It's quite abusive, to be honest with you. And I wonder, I mean, this is a question for you, because you live in the world of, or you've lived in the world of like journalism, and sort of you've seen how people respond. Where is this coming from? Why are people becoming so harsh in everything in their response?
I mean, that's a massive question. I think the media's got a massive responsibility, and you know, social media came along and ripped up the media's business model. So you've got fat cat, you know, media businesses that for the longest time used to make money. It was licensed to print money. It was easy. Yeah. Now we got social media. A lot of, you know, there's no accountability in many of these platforms that come along, and you know, Facebook's business model is engagement, and you know, that's how it makes money. It wants to keep your attention as long as possible, and what they've found out with the algorithm is that fear, anger, hate, extreme, that keeps people
higher engaged.
You know, we're now in this place where we're on all the time. We're more anxious than there's ever been. There's more fear than there's ever been, and at the same time, the media can't compete with social media, so it plays the same game. It goes after clicks. So where we used to have a media that was somewhere in the middle, now it's very either right wing or left wing. You know, you're either a Nazi or you're ultra woke. Yeah. There's nothing in the middle, because the media are not peddling it. We saw it. I mean, I went to the Qatar World Cup. I don't know if either of you got to go over.
It was incredible.
It was incredible. But the Western media,
the amount of negativity that I've never seen such horrible like attacks coming. It was just mind blowing.
And if you spent any time there, the stadiums were incredible.
Yeah.
The organisation was incredible. The fact that there was no alcohol in the stadiums actually
Boo-hoo.
made
It elevated the experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the first time I would have taken my 7-year-old daughter to one of these matches and not felt any
safe.
anxiety about it at all. You think about all the previous World Cups we've ever seen broadcast. There's always running battles in the streets between drunken fans. There's none of that this year, and yet none of that made it into the Western media.
But can I just say on that point, and this is the thing that really rubbed me the wrong way, is the attack that came from the Western media, which was very much around the value system and the beliefs or the faith of Qatar. And here's my issue. You are sitting around and talking about how everybody's entitled to live life as they want. And you are coming to my house, okay, by choice. I haven't asked you to come here. You paid and you wanted to participate here. And then you come and you criticize how I run my home. It's mind-blowing. The amount of commentary that I've seen across all platforms about how Qatar wants to run the country, their belief system, their values, which they are 1,000,000% entitled to, just like you're entitled to whatever belief system you are.
And the flip of that is that, okay, there is no perfect place on the planet.
Of course not.
And having been in this part of the world for a long time, I'm actually quite happy for the UK media to keep banging about this place and the way it does. The Daily Mail, you can keep as many of those angry, English expats away from this place, and we'll keep it sweet. Because a lot of people don't realise just how good life here is.
Well, Piers Morgan came out and did a whole stint about...
Yeah, don't get me started on Piers. But at the same time, yeah, it's all right for you to come and go, well, actually, from our value system, we think that, and that should improve. Because everything is on a journey of improvement, and there's I'm not a religious person, but that whole let he without sin throw the cast the first stone. It's all right to say, right, there are some things here that need improving, or there are some things that we think you need to go on a journey on. That said, that can't be the entire narrative.
Yeah.
It was all the right. Well, this is wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong. Well, yeah, but what about this being right? And what about that being right? And what about? So then you can make a balanced decision on it. I'm just going to come back to something we were talking about before, because I want to bring Nigel back in. You were talking about transformation, and sometimes these transformation pictures almost seem like it's almost like we want to get rich quick.
Yep.
We want quick fixes. We want to solve things right now. How often do you have people come to you going, okay, I mean, I remember having a conversation with Chris Fader. I know he's a good friend of yours. And he was telling me how he was addicted to the gym at one point, and actually he wasn't dealing with his mental issues at all. And he really struggled with his mental health in that time. How often do you get people coming to you that literally they were like, well, I need to transform me. And as soon as I hit that shape, I'm going to be good.
I'm going to be great.
Yeah, rather than this be just like, actually, no, this is going to be, you're going to have to work with this all your life.
Yeah. I mean, it's daily. But the embarrassing thing is, it's like that for me.
Yeah.
Like in my 20s, let's get in the best shape you've ever looked, right? It's all about looking good, pulling as many women as you can, and the outlook there is so different and so driven by.
We had a very different 20s, by the way.
but
you're better looking than me, so fair enough.
Mate, you're too kind, but.
Supposed to disagree at that point.
Yeah, but it was the outlook was so different, and then you sort of get older and whatnot, and again you're thinking look, let me get into the best shape, let me put my health first, and everything else should follow a pattern, which more than often is the way to do it, right? But everybody stops there. They get what they're looking in the mirror, and I'm like, yeah, I look great, but the mind is still well clouded. Right? Then it becomes
you don't
obsessive.
even see it, right?
Oh,
you have a goal, even if you hit it, but you don't even see it. You get to that point and you only see it in hindsight.
Absolutely, yeah.
You later on look at photos and you think, what was wrong with me? Yeah. I was in the best shape. I was doing great. I was performing, right?
Yeah. And the problem is now, like, nobody talks about this, and on our platform, we openly speak about this because we've all done it. We all were in an age demographic that we thought this is what the the system wanted from us, and this is how you're going to win and this is how you get work, was, this whole anabolic world of PEDs. Yeah. Now, everything you see, more than likely 85% of the content you see from the fitness world online, more than likely everybody's taking some substance to get them into the shape they look like. Listen, we've all done it the hard way. We all keep on doing it the hard way, and it's not easy to get into shape. It's consistency, it's discipline, it's every single day of your life you're having to stay on top.
It's not a project, it's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle.
It's how you live.
Well, that's it. You say get into shape. Is the challenge not getting into shape, but is the challenge staying in shape?
Of course.
Because we see so many people that achieve that goal. And I've been through it very recently. Yeah. I trained for a triathlon, an Olympic triathlon. I thought, I'm going to get back, I'm going to do that. And it was great. And I trained for it, and I was 5th from last. They were taking down the finish line just as I crossed it, but that's all good. I did it, and I was really happy with myself. And then Christmas rolls around, and I lost 10k training for this thing. Christmas rolls around, boom,
straight back
alcohol, cheese, food.
Scott, here's the question.
But did you enjoy it? Hang on.
Yeah, I really
did. You enjoy it?
I really did. Yeah.
So
and it's fine.
You did get back on the horse and do it, and that's life. Life is not going to be consistently this or consistently that.
And I think the thing I struggle with, or the thing I'm trying to work with, is that blame on myself. Okay, I've let myself down. I've let myself go. I mean, we say that so often, don't we? Oh, I've let myself go. Yeah. Well, actually, you just spent a bit of time. You enjoyed yourself at Christmas. You were with your family.
You had good time with family.
But here's the biggest question as a coach now.
Yeah.
At how I look at life now, as this version of coach, is who is to say what shape, and we say get into shape, right? Forget physically. Who am I to tell you you're not in the best shape?
So can I comment on that from a female perspective now? Because we talked about how hard it is for men. So let's talk about women. I think that the standards of beauty have become not impossible, because as long as there are plastic surgeons, everything is possible. But they have become so crazy and unreal and promoted so heavily that the perfect, or to be in shape, you got to look like a Kim Kardashian, or you got to look like, I don't know, a Cara Delevingne, or you got to look like whatever standard of beauty it is, the flavor of the month. And that is so disillusioning for women, because average women that don't make money off how they look, and that's the category that a Kim K or Jennifer Lopez, or even though like a Jennifer Lopez, athlete, dancer, and done it for years and years and years. But there are absolute teams of people that run behind this image.
She's one individual that's perhaps managing to do that with her teams out of the 8 billion people there are on the planet. The rest of us are struggling a bit with that one.
100%. But you know what? Give me a full-time chef, 3 coaches, my own gym at home, somebody that, feeds me my meals, makes sure there's nothing that I can get to that, puts me off my plan, an entire dance crew, my makeup team, my fashion team, and I promise you I'll look better than Jennifer Lopez. That's the reality. I mean, it's a joke, obviously, but what I'm trying to say is that there's a lot of work.
It's a manufactured image, and it's not a false.
And it's fine for her because that's her job. Yeah. But for us to idealize that, to make that what health or beauty looks like, is incredibly dangerous for young women, because what I'm seeing in young women, we talked about Gen Z's men, let's talk about women, is I'm seeing teenagers, late teenage girls that look like they're 25 or 30. It's scary as hell. If that was my daughter, I will be really, really worried, because it's a very young person, naive to what's out there, that's going out with this image that looks a lot older.
It terrifies me as a father of a 7-year-old girl. I mean, I don't know if you saw last year, but there was a whistleblower who was in front of the Senate last year, basically talking about like how Instagram knew that its algorithm is promoting content that's leading teenage girls, to self-harm, and in some cases even commit suicide.
There you go.
And this is an organisation, and sorry to dump on Instagram for all the Instagram fans out there, and we'll probably be promoting this podcast on Instagram at the same time. They wanted to launch Instagram Kids.
Oh, good God. Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
You know, aimed
I heard
at
about
6
that.
to 12-year-olds. I'm sorry, but even the tobacco giants didn't market to 6-year-olds.
Well, there's a whole thing here where the legal system is way behind on everything tech. Like tech law is really behind, but there's stuff around privacy and access to minors and all of that really needs to be developed really quickly. Otherwise, we are going to, like, I don't know how we're going to recover from this. There, you know, the younger.
I think this part of the world's actually got a better chance on that one. I mean, if you look at the way that, you know, the social media companies are embedded in the politics of the US or the UK, here we've got a better opportunity.
We have the highest penetration of mobile phones in the world here in Saudi.
That's true, but
it's insane.
But you know,
TikTok.
still not, you know, getting involved in government policy. You know, we know we know that social media really actually should be regulated.
Well, that's a different conversation. But they are trying. But what I want to say is, so body dysmorphia, Nigel, you probably have seen this or a version of this with female clients, is a real thing. I'm sure it happens in men, but this is probably more evident in women and with young girls. It's the eating disorders. It's things like getting fillers and whatever at such a young age. Literally, my sister sent me a photo yesterday of Kylie Jenner, who is the ultimate idol of Gen Z women nowadays. And, you know, she looks like a completely different person than she did as a young. It's everything. Like she's had everything done. Here's the thing. She's entitled to that, right? She's absolutely. But talk about it and just say, I've done this because it makes me happy. But going out to the world and saying, oh, no, but my boobs got bigger after the age of 25.
Mine did.
You know, it's totally unrealistic. And you know who's benefiting? The aesthetic industry.
Absolutely.
You know, like I see like the ads that come up on things like, you know, fillers for lips and your face and like all that crazy stuff is it's obscene. It's absolutely obscene, and you're entitled to do it. But what I'm saying is that it's driving that.
It's an industry.
Precisely.
And you're being marketed to
100%.
and convinced of the need to do it for.
And as it grows, women more than ever feel less and less beautiful and less like they're enough.
Because the more insecure you feel, the
more they sell.
The more they
Absolutely.
sell.
Yeah.
The benchmark is almost unattainable now for
Absolutely.
women,
Absolutely.
for sure. Because the other thing on the other side of that is, you know, the male demographic using Instagram also are exposed, and it's in your face. I could open my Instagram now and it'll just be in the main feed, females, bikinis, athletes like that. I mean, they look great.
The filter alone.
Forget that. They look great and everything about it, but it's like that's now what men in their psyche are like going, this is what women should look like. Now,
exactly.
I've just had this on our floor. I'm not going to mention names or anything, but she was in the program for 12 weeks. And I mean, that's nothing, right? Like most of our clients have been here 3-4 years in the program. It's a lifestyle choice now. This is how they start their day. Young female came in and, you know, just said, after 12 weeks, I'm not happy. I'm like, yeah, but this is not a 4-month thing. It's you got to run it for a year. You've just had a kid as well. You know, there's so much going on hormonally for you that you're not going to bounce back straight away.
But Victoria Beckham did.
Yeah, but Victoria.
According to her Instagram feed.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
That'd be good.
Just like that, just like Victoria, just like whoever she's gone, you know what, I'll see you in a couple of months. I'm off to Turkey. And I said, what for? She's like, surgery.
Because it's much cheaper than Dubai. I've literally had a girlfriend say that to me the other day. Oh, you know, it's so much cheaper. The girls are going and getting their fillers and Botox. And I'm like, are you insane?
But it's also much easier and obtainable than probably, you know, slogging her ass on the gym floor for the next 6 months trying to get that way. Or if it's even comparable to that way.
But you know what the problem is? The problem is, I think, with such things for women is that it's not like you go and get something done and it's the end and you feel good.
No way.
It's literally like you're chasing your tail. It's this moving goalpost of what you deem is perfect or right or whatever that you will never achieve. And really it stems from your personal insecurities and lack of self-worth and all of that. And that's the mental health piece, right? Yeah. Like you need to look inside for you to look outside. It's for you to...
But that's the thing too. So the general population are on that level, and they're like, instead of working for my result, I'll go and get it. I'll pay 20 grand and
we want
get
the quick fix.
Quick fix.
That's it. Yeah.
But on the same token, on this side of the health and fitness industry is the most toxic place ever. So you've got 20-something-year-olds becoming personal trainers and going into their 30s and making this career. That's great. But they've got to also keep up with an image, keep up with a look, what the magazine and what magazines, it's Instagram now, what Instagram's showing you what a personal trainer, female, male, should look like, what your personal trainer should look like. Jacked, And these poor, 20-somethings, 30-somethings are going, shit, right, I can't afford to pay my rent, let alone, because don't be fooled. It's a toxic industry, it's an undercutting industry, and everybody just chopping the legs from underneath each other. But at the same time, for me to look a certain way and do this, I have to help myself now. I have to get on the anabolic steroids. I have to take certain tablets that keeps my weight and waist.
You got to have the six pack,
right?
Yeah.
So what this is doing to that personal trainer mentally, it's cooking them. I was one of them in my mid-20s. I took all the gear in the world. I looked a certain way. If I showed you photos of me at around 25 here in Dubai, you would freak. But that's what I thought the industry wanted from me. And that's what I did to put myself out there, to look that way, to get the work. And now I'm top competitors of the PTs, top 10 PTs, right? Thinking that's what was getting it for me. But no, because probably my personality changed at that time too, because of the ego-driven, person I was, because I looked a certain way. But coming back to it, now, 10 years later, it's your personality. I could be the most average PT, but my personality is what is going to win the work. Because there's the connection between two humans. So to bring that person in, connect with them on a certain level, to then get them through 40, 50 minutes of something they don't want to be doing, but they know that they sort of have to get into some sort of, good mind space and then leave feeling better. That's where I'm at now. But listen, don't be fooled. There is two sides of it, and they're not completely opposite. You've got the body dysmorphia in the industry, and you've got the body dysmorphia on the general population. And this lot are giving advice to this lot. It's absolutely mad.
Like the blind leading the blind.
It dead set is. Honestly, it dead set is. And then with the integration of your phone, you get on it, that's what I should look like. Shit.
I've got comparison kicks back in.
I've got 50-year-old mums, right, which have been, doing the whole lifestyle for a while, sending me Pinterest photos of a 20-year-old with a, cut up six-pack. I'm like, mate, she's literally...
She's 12.
Yeah. How are you comparing?
Yeah.
You've had 3 kids.
Yeah, I have these conversations with girlfriends, and I'm the youngest out of my girlfriends. I'm in my 30s. Most of my girlfriends are in their 40s, and they'll, pull up photos, and I'll say, but she's 12. Like, literally, that's what you looked like. Like, you can't compare. But the other thing, by the way, about a couple of things on what you were saying, with pumping your body with all that stuff in your 20s, or even women doing all of these things, all these aesthetic sort of procedures, it comes back to bite you. People think that this is it. No, you actually end up ruining your skin, the elasticity, you look older. It's good now. It's not good in 5, 10, 12 years. You got to be really careful with how you do this stuff. A little bit or moderation to keep up, whatever. For both men and women's okay. But the extreme that we're seeing is just absolutely scary. And the other thing that I'm finding fascinating or interesting now in the health industry is that there are more conversations around how PTs are normal people and should not look a certain way, like James Smith and Darren Cartel, and I love Sal Di Stefano as well. I think he's amazing. Woo! But him and the guys are always talking about like the lifestyle. They're spreading the message that you need to weight train and functional train for life, for your health, for your longevity of life and all these things. And so the messages the good messages are there, but you need to have people who can discern between what's what, right? And that's, I think, the biggest issue here. Like you said, Instagram or LinkedIn's not showing me James or Sal. It's showing me the guy that's selling the 8-week transformation photos.
Absolutely. Look, we could carry on this conversation for hours and hours and hours, and I know we're going to have more conversations. Before we kind of wrap up on this episode of The Mental Space, I'm going to ask you both, I'm going to Shanghai you with a question first, and then Dana, you can try and answer it. It's a twist on the old, right, okay, so you talked about that kid in the 20s, you know, who was doing all that gear. What Nigel would you say? So I'm putting two people in front of you right now. One's 20-year-old Nigel, and the other one's 50-year-old Nigel. What would you say to the 20-year-old? What would you say to the 50-year-old?
I'd definitely say to the 20-year-old is, I'd say, mate, be yourself and, don't conform in what you think people want you to be. Like if I had that mantra coming through, because the system I came through to was a lot, very, very like that. Yeah. Have to be this sort of player to make that sort of first grade team. It was all like that. So you think there's a model that you got to follow, but I'd go back and say, listen, the more you are yourself and the more you're true to yourself will probably then save your 30s and 40s. You know what I mean? So, and then the 50-year-old, I'd speak to him and say, once I get to, I'm looking at you and I'm saying, hopefully you were eventually true to yourself and you made yourself happy. So
almost the same advice for going forward as you going
absolutely,
backwards. Yeah. And so that's almost a mic drop moment, but Dana, I'm going to give you the same question to you.
So I'm going to get a little bit nostalgic here. There is a song that Baz Luhrmann came up with in 1999. You know who Baz Luhrmann is?
Yeah,
Do you know who he is?
I think I know the song you're about to do.
And I think he was absolutely ahead of his time, but he knew exactly what he said. And one of the lines in there was, beauty magazines will always make you feel ugly. Now, 20 years later, 30 years later, it's not the beauty magazines anymore, it's social media, it doesn't matter. But he's essentially saying, I'm just looking at the lyrics now because I don't remember them word for word, but I know it sort of left an impression on me. Don't worry about the future or worrying at all, just go out there and live your life. And the most interesting people I know didn't know at 22 what they wanted to do and just lived their life. And the more interesting ones at 40 still don't know what they want to do, which is to go back to what we were saying earlier. But the punchline, obviously, of this song is remember to always wear sunscreen. Living in Australia, that's obviously must, but it's also good for your youthfulness.
Well, good advice also in UEE.
Yeah, absolutely. But
okay, so that's past advice, and that's great advice, and thank you for bringing that back because I remember that song. Yeah. So 50-year-old Dana, what are you saying to her?
It's not that serious. It really is not that serious. And just literally go out and live outside, not in your head, not on the platforms, not on anybody's timeline or expectation or perception of what's okay or not. Just go out and live, because you only get to do this once, and I think a lot of us almost feel like we have this thing going on forever, but it's not. There is a clock.
There is indeed.
It sounds a bit morbid, but that is the truth. Yeah, that's absolutely the truth.
Well, I mean, I'll close in saying that. I mean, I totally 1,000,000% agree with you on that one. One of the reasons why I launched this business, I read a book called 4,000 Weeks by a guy called Oliver Burkeman, I think his name was. But the title relates to the fact that if you live to 80 years old, you get 4,000 weeks.
Wow.
Now, 80 years, I can't see that. That never ends. But 4,000 weeks, I can see that on a calendar and tick them off. So, yeah, it is later than you think, as they say.
You need to read the Ikigai and book about the Japanese living up to 110. We need to cross come on.
We'll come back onto a conversation on the mental space about longevity as well. I know lots of people are obsessed with longevity, but they're still miserable as sin. Hey guys, it's been great to talk with you today. Thanks for joining us on the mental space. And if you've enjoyed this podcast, please hit subscribe. And also, Nigel, give us a shout out for your podcast.
The One Tribe podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
And also, if you're thinking about getting in shape or just want to join a community where people get into shape but also staying in shape, of course, come and check out Ballers. It is an amazing facility. So thanks very much for hosting us here.
Thank you, mate. Thanks for having us on. Appreciate it.
Perfect. Thanks, Dana.
Thank you.